Some of that, yes, it's controlled. And it could be controlled through CERN. It could be controlled through HAARP. It could be controlled through certain particleization movement streams. But if we can go and delve in deeper with this calendar, we could maintain an activated event through the actual grid itself. This type of machine is most likely been stabilized and coordinated with the electromagnetic fields that are connected to the entire planet.
Everybody, welcome to episode 52. Blue, how are you?
I'm good today, Mike.
Awesome. Hey, I know we're going to have a big show today in episode 52. What are we going to talk about?
One of the main things we'll be discussing about is the Higgs boson, God particle, CERN, particle control, natural planetary timeline control, and actual particleization movement streams of an actual a cylinder that's underneath the planet itself, that's being controlled by a certain matter materials that help bring things in proportion, kind of like how the Big Bang Theory went into reality.
Awesome.
This type of machine does very similar attributes than that.
Awesome. Sounds like we got a bunch to get into here. Hey, before we do, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And if we're not on a platform that you enjoy getting your stuff, well, go ahead and let us know what that is. We'll try to get on there. And also, take the time to go ahead and check out the hat that Blue's wearing. Check out the shirt. What's that behind you there, Blue?
Oh, it's one of our blankets.
Awesome.
Space
awesome
Force.
Stuff. Awesome. Hey, you can click on the link down below and you can get some of the same stuff here. You can join the movement. And also, be sure to like, subscribe, follow, click on notifications so you're notified when we post new material as well. Blue, let's get right into 52.
Yep, absolutely. So-called Cellular, beneath the Alps, there's an elevator that leads deep underground. Used to be a joke. People explained about it. Oh, it goes to hell. There's an inferno at the end. But what does this really go to? Now, this leads to the energy of a train at high speed. Think about that. We're talking about the Large Hadron Collider, LHC, the world's biggest machine, spanning a 27-kilometer racetrack, and it smashes together subatomic particles at a very high rate, at the speed of light, and hunts for the secrets of our universe in such a debris. And we're talking about this calendar itself. We're talking about activated events that lead to corporations that deal with CERN. We're talking about activated events that deal with other corporations as well that could fundamentally place particles together or actually make things a reality. Funding the actual motions of the stability and the forces of life and the actual particle that's very, very hard to find itself. One of the even deeper particles, and we're going to get into that in a minute, is dark matter.
No, we've talked about this in the past, and there's been a lot of talk. And you said before about things being, it was just a mystery, or it was conspiracy, or whatever. This stuff is very much real. So my question is, why? What's the purpose of this? Why are we doing this?
Well, this certain particleizer, if shut down, and Stephen Hawking explained about this before, he had warned that if this type of machine had shut down, it would create a catastrophic event because the amounts of particles it induces already pretty much coordinates to the electromagnetic fields around the actual world and the subatomic particles that outlets through those.
So this Higgs boson, the God particle, to me, this rings all about control. You figure, what better way to be in control than be able to harness the God particle? Do you think that's what it's about?
Well, they're pretty much trying to figure out the forces of nature, electromagnetism, the nuclear forces that hold atoms together. They're trying to fundament a stabilized way to maintain it. And if we already think about it, we already have a lot of cloning effects across the grid. And we got to think about the unstabilization frequency drives that are maintained throughout the matrix as well. And that includes catastrophic events that through the world shouldn't even be lifted here. They make no sense. They're way out of hand. Some of that, yes, it's controlled. And it could be controlled through CERN. It could be controlled through HAARP. It could be controlled through certain particleization movement streams. But if we can go and delve in deeper with this calendar, we could maintain an activated event through the actual grid itself. This type of machine is most likely been stabilized and coordinated with the electromagnetic fields that are connected to the entire planet.
I'm going to try to compare this to something that we all recently went through, and I don't know if these two things are parallel. I don't know if these two things are the same or alike or not. But let me just throw this out there. Years ago, if I had told you that the entire planet was going to get shut down because of a so-called, a pandemic, you would have thought I was crazy. And then sure enough, it happened. Now, we've come to find out through, Dr. Evil, Dr. Fauci there, that gain of function was used in these experiments, and we funded this stuff in a Wuhan lab. And, he still denies that stuff, but it's been proven otherwise. And I can't wait for 45 to become 47 so he can bring everybody a major dose of reality and take care of the people that hindered our abilities to survive as a populace. It was very inhumane what was done. So my question is, they were studying gain of function. Now, you could argue that you want to study gain of function so you know how to prepare in case something bad happened. Is this similar? Are they going back and trying to recreate the God particle so they know is this supposed to do more good than it is bad? It seems to me like this could be some sort of, again, a Dr. Evil with the cat and, trying to take things over and control the planet, control the world. Is this a good thing or an evil thing, you think?
Well, it plays as both roles because it's connected to the electromagnetic fields. And unlike other quantum fields, the Higgs field never fully relaxes. And like I said, Stephen Hawking's been warned out. If it relaxes, and scientists too, it would rewrite the rules of matter and wipe out all of existence. This type of machine is one of the coordinators, and yes, it very well could have been an advanced machine status code sent by extraterrestrial higher advancement speeds to actually affiliate and maintain what's going on around the entire planet and control the timeline intervals.
Is there anything I can do about this? Is there anything I need to do about this? Is there anything I want to do about this?
No, I would have a concern now, just if we're going to mess with these certain particleization streams, to maintain it and utilize it for good for the entire planet. Because certain activators in CERN would want to utilize things for bad. Now, we could rewrite and calibrate things so we're not having catastrophic events anymore. And this type of particle emitter could equalize certain roles across the entire planet because it propulsions electromagnetic fields. And if we can go and delve down deeper, it can calibrate things into existence, you said portals or other activated events and biomatter. This is where we get into dark matter itself.
That was my next question. You had mentioned dark matter before, and I know, in our space exploration, there's a push to, become more knowledgeable about dark matter, and they think it's a larger part of the universe than we can even comprehend. Does CERN how do these two things relate, CERN and dark matter?
Because it's one of the more elusive particles. And when those particles hit even one tiny bit of a DNA molecule strand on mankind, it could affect them. It could affect them neurally, and it could affect them physically, depending on that intact molecule and how high the generative node is. But with dark matter, it is also in coordinates through an actual energy itself. It can be made as an energy that can be utilized for numerous types of things. And that includes UFO particle emissions. Activated that there are representatives out there that could move this dark matter and formulate it into a physical status code. They also have outer dimensional entities that could co-align with certain materialistic dark matter and be able to swiftly move from one area to the next because they're able to initialize that in a semi-automatic peripheral stream. And we're going into enhanced psionic DNA impact, like I just represented and talked about. If we could coordinate a particle in the so-called God particle itself and the certain particles that analyze the dark matter and fundamentally push into DNA input streams, it could help recalibrate the electromagnetic fields that coordinate within the neural empathic ways within the minds of mankind and other higher species. There could be an activated event for a teleportation frequency drive, but that's much more advanced into the future. Now we're dealing with cellular hyperbinding, particle binds as well. And that's through dimensional binding, cosmic binding the cosmic realms and the particles that go in between those strands through the realms.
Is this going to advance us as a humanity? Is this going to advance us as a people? Is this going to take us to another level that we can't even comprehend right now?
Well, dark matter is still something the scientists are working on and calibrating with, because if not properly obtained with, because it creates radiation fields as well, depending on how high the elemental biowave streams go with it. It's something that doesn't need to be messed around with. Meaning, when you're dealing with this, just like you're dealing with nuclear advances, nuclear sciences, you have to know what you're doing. Because this type of material could screw a lot of things up if we're innovated wrong.
We've talked in the past about a lot of things that are going on in the world and a lot of our advancements and how a lot of these things are tied to extraterrestrial technology and guidance. Is this one of those things that this has literally come from somewhere else, this technology?
Well, dark matter is just another form of element, but it's a much more advanced form of element, and it can be utilized. It can be maneuvered around. You know how they use metals and other objects as well. They melt it down. They manufacture it for something else. This they can manufacture, but it deals with ion particleization events. It deals with obviously certain type of nuclear materialized agents. It deals with the radioactive scenes. It deals with particles that emit through, well, this type of radiation could emit more or less through cosmic radiation too. And it also levels out with the light or the electromagnetic fields in proportion what dark matter is implied by. It's a hypothetical form matter appears to interact with such. It can bounce between the biorhythm streams.
Could this somehow assist us in our pursuit of outer space travel, of trying to explore other dimensions in the future? Is this technology going to be helpful in that way?
Well, if utilized right, it's something, it's something that affects and shapes the cosmos itself. It's that type of material. And if utilized right, they can self-manage to maintain uh, several intake scenes for it. And that includes recalibration of what they could do with obviously star units, and maybe using dark matter to represent it at a higher field of energy effect between hyperloop poles, because it does create an electromagnetic pusher pole, and it has a much higher string of variables that can create a DNA formational outlet. So it can push things. It pretty much pushes the matter of subatomic particles into motion, and it can accelerate that causeway. That's why it puts in accountabilities to spirits, aliens, UFOs, and other unusual paranormal accounts. Some of that element bypass through it is created by dark material itself, those agents.
We've talked in the past about several cartoons, several programs I watch, I do continue to watch. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. One of my favorites is Rick and Morty. And for those of you who aren't familiar, please seek it out, check it out. There's an episode where Rick, the scientist guy, he actually creates a universe inside his little car or UFO type item to create energy. So it's like his battery. He created a universe, and he's able to shrink himself, go down into the universe and check on those people who are supplying him with energy. And then it goes on that those people figured out the game, so they created a universe inside their universe to create their energy. And to me, if you take a macro look at that, maybe, just maybe, we have been created as a universe to create energy, to mine gold and precious materials or so forth. Is this a possibility? Are we trying to create a little universe to somehow benefit mankind that we can pull from, that we can extract from?
Well, dark material creates filaments of it can bind galaxies together. It's such a high activated element, and it is really unknown to mankind, but it's more known to higher species because it's more of a cosmic inlet source. But it does bind, there's one type or other types of inert molecules of dark matter in at least every replicated code of humankind or other type of biosequencing agent. But this is very, very tiny, because you got to understand the much bigger impact. The more the moleculars are enacted together, the higher the definition it could play on a negative role upon the actual engram itself, the person, the data stream. Unless they have proactive spherical ways to maintaining that type of energy, and then the maintaining the type of electromagnetic impulses it plays out between the fields.
One more question here, and this is going to be a little bit out there as well, like all my questions are. Could this expand our mind or unlock our brain in ways that are beneficial to us? We've talked about it before. We use a small portion of our brain. Can this type of technology, can understanding these things, can this take us to another level? Will we become superhuman? Will we be able to do things we never thought possible before, physically and mentally, with our bodies?
Well, dark material is just one proactor of the cosmic grid. Yes, it's something that's stabilized if they use to formulate it right. But there are other many sequencing codes out there as well that will help to activate their own neural mind waves of mankind. The God particle, it's something that creates the stabilizations of the forces of life and death, pretty much. And it's very, very powerful. And for every human to have that would not be good, because it's a proactive scene. It's more coordinated to putting into more equalized terms of the cosmos. But if there could be a semi-molecular stance of that certain type of particle enacted for mankind and be able to motorize their neural agents better, then I don't see why not we could actually push that term forward just a little bit. We have to play vital roles, though, with what we're messing around with.
You know what the amazing thing to me is? We talked about all this technology. We talked about all these scientific advancements. We talked about where this is going to take us. We didn't even bring up Elon Musk. How can that be? Crazy, crazy stuff here. Are we ready to talk about the SCP Foundation?
Yes, SCP-279, Meandering Man. SCP-279 appears to be a man in his early 40s of an unremarkable appearance and dress. Does not respond to any form of external stimuli and has not been observed to deviate from a standard neutral expression. He has been reported to spontaneously disappear or reappear throughout certain areas, presenting unusual difficulties to agents required to monitor it. So this type of being spends the majority of his time traveling through the town. It's not going to say. Attempts to eliminate that have been failed, the SCP, and it continues whatever is a process of doing regardless of any injury it has sustained. So with this type of being, he scans a certain modulated areas and pretty much goes around and gets that information speed. Now, what gets interesting is he's not been outside of it, not been spotted outside of his host town. So he stays around that peripheral movement speed. Now, regarding this type of being, after it vanishes about 2 hours and returns to original state, it is impossible to constrain. And this type of being, if someone touches it, they vanish along with it. So they have been observed to have several civilians go missing. And there's only been report at least one or two, and one of them was a Foundation member actually brought back with this type of being, this entity. And this entity, when they had taken clear photos of it, it had shown a type of ripple effect around its substructure. At first, they thought it was human, but after that, in the self-evaluation terms, they manufactured it to be a different entity altogether. Would have considered this Euclid not safe because of the amount of people that go missing. And since it takes in information, you don't get much out back from it on self-analytic code. They're not quite sure what its motives are for.
You know, one of the things that's fascinating to me in our world of science is the way we've learned to approach things with caution. When we first started exploring Mars, or at least when they first made it public, we sent Mars rover, we send probes, we send things that can't injure humans. You know, even the police do that. When they go into an unknown situation, they have robotics they can send in ahead of time. Is it possible this is some sort of probe from another dimension, another place, another time? It's taking the human form or a like human form to kind of blend in. But like you said, it doesn't give out information. It seems to gather information. Is this like a probe?
Well, yeah, I mean, it could be an articulated time initializer. So it could be analyzing certain replicated beings, bringing them back with it. And what they had said that whoever was involved with it and had been taken back, it had been done and dealt with and binded in a chair. And pretty been much asked about certain things and wasn't on a good progressive scene. So this type of entity, you know, it could be withdrawing certain information. I would consider it an in-between, though. I don't know, considered an evil entity. It did not show any type of evil aperture effect or negative aperture effect. but it's still considered something unknown, and that type of variable would have to be looked into a bit more. Time travelers, you have no idea their motives. And this seems like a time initializer from another dimension code. If that's the case, maybe exacting the term of what you can do to get into some information more from it.
Do we know if this is a one-off situation, or is there more than one Meandering Man?
From what I know, there's just one because it comes from a certain town, certain place. But they have it in the Foundation currently. Yes. Well, yes and no. I mean, it could teleport too. I believe it's inside of a town perimeter, but they do have it monitored. And they don't want it. It cannot touch a person's skin because automatically it would teleport with that person. They would disappear.
I'd be interested in teleporting, but I don't know if I want to just totally permanently disappear. I don't think that's what I'm imagining. What's next from the SCP Foundation?
SCP-316, Colors Raining Light. SCP-316 is a Bronze Age carbon lamp. The casing corresponds to no manufacturer models. Appears to be homemade. The bulb is ordinary and can be replaced without impeding the functions. Internal circuitry. It's consisted of an unknown metal rather than copper. The casing has a battery compartment which takes 2D batteries. And it's interesting because this thing won't work unless you have that installed into it. It needs no special container other than to prevent misuse by unauthorized personnel. Those operating SCP should wear highly reflective full body wear to prevent accidental exposure. Personnel privy to sensitive information should be kept out of visual range due to its ability to induce a suggestive state. Now, what gets interesting with this is the temporary effects on living sentient organisms. Its effect is spread evenly across an organism once it hits, and it creates an exposure to its light effect. Effects that are approximately 27 cumulative seconds of exposure gradually wear off over the next 24 hours. So it pretty much, it takes the color variation away. It starts doing that. So anyone who is hit by that, they turn gray. The colors go away. Additional loss of color, most affected organisms experience the following symptoms: color blindness, lower body temperature, low energy, slowed movements, monotoric slurred speech, inattentiveness, short-term memory loss, apathy, lack of regression, on and on and on. And after recovering from the effects, most subjects report symptoms of nausea and depression for up to a week. They do go back to their colored state. And what gets interesting is the SCP Foundation, they utilize this to stop certain beings from their movement speeds temporarily.
This is very interesting to me because my understanding of light is that it's like a prism. There's all different colors to it. And you're saying that this actually extracts those colors, actually pulls color out of things.
Yeah. And it also creates different effects. Obviously not good ones, but they utilize it now for the purpose of pacification on SCPs. So that way they can pacify them temporarily from movement streams or wherever they're at. In a way, it's kind of like a weapon, but in a way, it's kind of like something else. Maybe if you take these negative lateral forms that it causes out of the receptacle and utilize why it takes why it removes the color spectrums out of things, maybe it could be coordinated into something positive. But that would have to be what scientists would have to look into a bit more.
If it's draining this light, does it store that light somewhere? Does it reap some benefit from it? Do the colors become energy for it? I know you said it operates on 2D batteries, which I find totally amusing, but what's the purpose of draining the color?
It just pacifies a being or sentient being as it takes away their color spectrum and it causes these different affiliated effects. Limited energy, low energy, this, that, capacitates him for a minute. But depending on how long that ray hits you, will depend on how long it takes for your color to come back and you to start feeling better again.
Awesome stuff here. Wow. I like when we talk about the SCP Foundation. I find these things fascinating. I'm so glad we get to talk about them on every show. Hey, what do we have to report from your positions with the Federation and the Space Force?
Yeah, so we discussed about this on one of the recent shows about Trump and how he wasn't permitted his son's Barron's graduation. We do have some good news. They have decided, after having to rip them or new one over things, that to allow him grant permission to his son's graduation. So that's one good thing. Now, on the other end, they're considering a push to redesign the American flag. I don't know if this is up in the air or not, but if this is the case, and we already see these transgender shit all over the place. Come on, the stars with that. Are we really going to go there? And if that is the case, goodbye. I mean, this America's going to be gone. America as we know it is going to be gone. This is a concern not to re-renovate the flag on a negative stance. And obviously, Judge finds Trump violated gag order in hush money case. So they're threatening him with jail right now, and he's dealing with a whole lot of bull crap with all that. And if you think about it, look at the Biden's administration. Look at his side. Look at all the problems that they are causing. Why would they want to push this further with the former president when they currently are just downsizing everything around him? For shame on you all. I can guarantee you got 10 times more laws that you have went up against than Trump altogether. Let's count all the laws that the Biden administration screwed up. How many laws that they busted and went up against already? Let's count. I guarantee you there's quite a bit. And there's quite a bit that they're hiding.
It's crazy.
Now, one good part, border vets installing razor wires at U.S.-Mexico border while in Tacoma. It only stops so much. But like I said, with open borders, there has to become a policy, a proper one. We have so many entities coming in, and they have no ID. They're pouring out from jails and prisons. And this is true. You look this up. They're allowing this in other countries, and they decided to just send them here. Or they got criminals or families who you don't even know how to subjugate law standards coming in. Just like we discussed about this family before. Brought their kids, the mom, and just killed them, shot and shit. We gotta wake up. Or we're not gonna have a good future for mankind. Let's start making that motivation proper.
You know, two things I want to comment on what you just talked about there. Number one is if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. No border, no country. It's simple. And I find it irreprehensible that we're allowing other countries to empty their mental institutions and their prisons and send people here, giving them a one-way ticket. These people don't travel 6,000 miles like they make it out to be, like they traveled all this way barefoot, uphill both ways. It's far from it. These people get transportation from one end of the country to another. We give money to these countries. We need to cut off the funding to these countries. We need to do things. We need to have a massive deportation. I'm not trying to be racist. I think we do a lot to support other peoples and we try to do things in a humane way. But there's no way these 15 million people or so are all being subjugated by and oppressed by their own country. I'm not buying it. And one quick thing here about the flag. You know, our forefathers, our ancestors fought hard for that flag. And the colors of the flag have meaning. The 13 bars and stripes, of course, for the 13 original colonies. The red in the flag is for bravery and valor, the blood that was shed to have this country here. The white for the purity and the innocence, and the blue and the white, you know, the stars, those are for each state. We're united as a people, and we've gotten away from being united. You know, one of the things they try to do to conquer people and control people is divide them and subdivide them. We need to come back together as a people and all have these common goals and interests. Then we can pursue helping others. If your backyard isn't clean, you can't go cleaning everybody else's backyard first. You got to clean your own spot first. Let's clean up our spot like it used to be here. It wasn't perfect, but, you know, we were trying. We were trying, and we need to get back to that. We need to get together and try. Blue, are we ready to talk about ET of the week?
ET of the week, Venusian. Slight advanced cooperative level of humanoid race that exists between ancient Atlantean civilizations, as well as possible link to Venusian's planets, planetary gravitational camouflage zones, and underground architectural zones. Biological entities amongst mankind affiliated with entertainment and science corporations. Most have blonde white hair with light brown eyes. Peripheral visions allow telepathic and telekinetic abilities. One of many consistent colonies. That means that they are one of many other advanced colonies that represented of humanoids upon this realm. They had Anunnaki races. They had Nordic races. They had ancient civilized races of certain Mayans and other races that deal with Egypt, polary lines of Antarctica, and many other zoning affiliation codes. These Venusians exist of one of many ancient advanced or similar priority streams to current humans already.
Is there any truth to the fact that there's been a book written about this? Men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Is this true?
Well, there are males that exist through Venus as well, and they explained about someone an abductee, who had met with an actual Venusian, but that Venusian existed through that actual affiliated zone, and they got more corporal information out of him. And long blonde hair, light brown eyes. They have highly capable advanced telepathic abilities. And they're pretty much hidden advanced races and psyoptic tones. Some of them do exist amongst entertainers currently.
Awesome. Awesome stuff again. And just like that, we're at a time, folks. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we look forward to seeing you next time in 53. Great job in 52 today, Blue.
Yes, thank you, Mike.